You're listening to
American Timelines.
American Timelines. American Timelines by History for Jerks.
History for Jerks, the greatest
podcast ever.
American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
So now I'm obsessed with time. Come on, tell me about the time. Had it all in my hand tonight. Had the time.
It's just like watching, I don't know what.
When the words
It's like watching,
You don't know what it's
it's like watching an old lady try to take a shit.
What? Why? How often do you do that?
I don't need to because I look at what you get ready for the podcast and I already know what it looks like.
So, me putting on headphones and putting a beer down
And getting
equals an old
adjusting
woman
your pillows and grunting and groaning.
Oh, because women adjust pillows while they're excreting feces.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Welcome to another episode of American Timelines.
American Timelines.
I'm Amy.
And we are History for Jerks, and I am Adam Gundrum, the lead singer of Uncle Ankle, the greatest band in Indiana.
Yeah, I thought you would change it up the second time around.
No, I'm Uncle Ankle, and this is the first time our listeners have heard this, because I neglected to push the correct button when we recorded this podcast the first time.
That's right. So this is going to be a little different. We kind of
Yeah.
know a little more about what, but it's still going to be good.
This is the second version of this episode.
Yes.
Because I didn't push record. So we spent an hour and a half speaking into microphones for no reason. And it was the best episode
It was a
ever.
pleasant experience.
It was the best episode ever, and you are all going to miss it because
Yeah, I know.
I didn't record it.
Only our dogs have heard it,
Only our dogs. It's the only episode of American Timelines that our dogs
have been the only listeners of.
are the only listeners of. And when I say listening, I don't really.
I
mean
know.
that. Yeah, they didn't really.
They weren't perked up or
No,
anything.
they weren't. My name's Joe, and we are History for Jerks, and we are back after a little bit of a sabbatical. And I'd like to apologize to all of you for that sabbatical.
We're probably going to have another one coming up here, aren't we?
Another sabbatical?
With your
Yeah,
big
here is
comedy.
why. Just so y'all know, I am a producer of comedy in
All right,
Charlotte,
we don't
North
need
Carolina.
your life story. Just you're going. You
But
have
anyway,
a
I'm putting
thing.
I'm putting on the largest comedy festival in Charlotte right now, and I'm heavily involved. So it's the Queen City Comedy
I
Experience.
think it's the only festival of comedy in Charlotte.
It probably is, but it's
But
the largest.
you make it the largest.
Well, it is.
I know.
It's huge.
It's just
a big
funny
deal.
to say that when
we
it's the
have
only one.
Fortune Feimster filming her special.
Oh, for what network?
I can't say. We're not allowed
Oh.
to say. It could be any special, but it's a recording special. Saturday night, the 28th. We have Bumpin' Mics with Jeff Ross and Dave Attell. We have Nate Bargatze, Hari Kondabolu. We have the Watch What Crappens podcast, Small Town Murder podcast, and many, many more. Kevin McDonald of Kids in the Hall is going to hang out.
That's
Sharon
awesome.
Halpern
Is
from
he going
Improv
to
Charlotte.
perform?
Yes, he's performing. He's doing his podcast, Kevin McDonald's Kevin McDonald Show podcast live.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at the Duke
That's
Energy
awesome.
Theater at Spirit Square on Thursday, September 26th.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then he's doing a sketch workshop, and then he's going to perform sketch comedy with the people in
Oh,
his
that's
workshop.
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Kids in the Hall, Kevin
Yeah.
McDonald. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity at the Queen City Comedy Experience. It's going to
Okay.
be a lot of fun.
Anyway,
that's why we didn't put out an episode last week. And but we're going to get this one done, and I don't know. It will be able to catch up maybe the next week after the festival and do one a couple days. I'm going to take off because I'll be dead tired.
Yep. All right.
Anyway, that's why. So I
this is the
apologize. Bear
podcast
with
that
us.
brings you all the crazy, nostalgic, interesting events
nostalgic,
from the past.
interesting, and
we do
weird,
it year by year.
Uncomfortable events.
You know how hard it is for me to say what I'm supposed to say.
I'm hyping
as
your stuff.
as
I'm
you're
hyping it.
talking and
No, I'm
behind-
hyping. I'm
in the
hyping
background?
behind you. I'm hyping.
Oh,
Hyping
okay.
the words. It's like I'm Flavor Flav. You're Chuck D.
So today we are talking about 1964.
Yeah, boy. See how that works? You're
I
Chuck
don't
D.
care
I'm
for it.
Flavor Flav. Anyway, yeah, we're in 1964 now. It took us forever to get through 1963, and I'm going to start off with a few things that happened in 1964. To give you perspective, they don't really have dates. It's just sometime in the year. And I'm going to start with the price of 1 pound of bananas.
Okay.
In
I
1964.
honestly can't remember from the last time we recorded.
Yeah, it was 15 cents.
That's pretty good.
Let that hit you. Let that wash over you. That
Let that
knowledge.
wash over you.
How much is a pound of bananas now? Would you say?
Yeah,
40,
it's like
40, 50 bucks?
$1.30 or something.
I think that's $55.
Well,
72
no.
cents.
I think you're being I think that's going a little far the other way.
You don't know.
No, you're right.
You don't know.
I didn't just buy a pound of bananas the other day.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yes.
All right, what about a Dumont color TV?
That
was
astronomical, I recall.
$499.
That is crazy.
It seems like a lot
high.
for 1964, but keep in mind,
Color TV.
There probably wasn't color TV until then. It was like a new thing.
Right.
And only rich people had them.
That's right.
And the way the color worked, I figured I did the research between yesterday and today, and the way the science works is they have monkeys inside the TV that color, use crayons, and they color the TV the colors. That's why there was a little bit iffy at the beginning.
Yeah.
So
I just remember those.
Monkey.
When I was a little kid, I'd get really close to the TV, and I'd see those little colored dots that made up the screen.
Yeah, those were monkeys in there doing that, probably, I think.
Did you ever do that?
No. I put my feet on the TV all the time during Mr. Rogers, though.
No. I don't know how that would work.
Because we were bored. We had a big TV, the TV was like a piece of furniture.
Yeah, it was like console.
In the 70s. Yeah, it was like a table. You could eat off of it and stuff.
Yep, that's true.
We had a big old one. And I don't know if you know this, but the U.S. Army used the first drones in 1964.
Oh, yeah.
The AQM-34 Ryan Firebees in Vietnam.
And drone.
Yeah, they're they look like big, like clunky metal airplanes.
Did you look it up?
Yeah, I looked them up. You can see them on
see.
YouTube. You can see videos of them. Look up the Ryan Firebees, AQM-34. It's not what do you think of as a drone today, super light and airy.
Yeah.
It's like clunky and huge, but they were like remote controlled, non.
Everything in the 70s and 60s was remote controlled.
Everything?
I feel like it. I think everything.
Robots?
Everything we owned as children was pretty much remote controlled. The robots.
Not
the cars.
like a paddle ball.
Well, you know.
Or they had slingshot action, like that when you grind up or you wind up and stuff. Anyway, we're in the 60s, not the 70s.
That's true.
The modern version of the Hippocratic Oath was written in 1964 by a man named Louis Lasagna.
Why didn't that guy change his name?
Well, he had to update it. He had to update the Hippocratic Oath so it was not to be taken in the presence of God or any gods, but before only other people.
What is the whole Hippocratic Oath?
I had it.
It's first do no harm. I know that's the beginning of it.
Louis Lasagna was the academic dean of the School of Medicine at Tufts University. Louis Lasagna at Tufts, y'all.
Why did we need to know that?
I wrote down the Hippocratic Oath. I was going to read it, but
is it real long?
Do you know how it goes? How's the beginning of it?
First do no harm is the only part I know.
Hippopotamus Oath. Hippocratic Oath. Here we go. All right. I swear. Yeah, the original one was written in Ionic Greek between the 5th and 3rd centuries BC.
Whoa.
That's why it had to be updated by Louis Lasagna.
Finally. That's about time.
And back then it was written by Phil Pasta.
That was bad. That was terrible.
Philip Pasta? Okay, that's not true. You don't believe me?
I don't.
Hippocrates, the Greek doctor, did it.
Okay. Is it real long?
The earliest surviving copy goes. It's all written in Greek. So
we don't need. Don't read it.
I swear by Apollo, physician, by Asclepius.
No,
by
don't
Hygeia,
read the Greek one.
By Panacea, and by all the gods and goddesses, making them my witnesses that I will carry out, according to my ability and judgment, the oath with this indenture, to hold my teacher in this art equal to my own parents, to make him partner in my livelihood when he is in need of money, to share mine with him, to consider his family as my own brothers.
All right, that's enough of that one.
You want the new one?
Yeah, the normal one.
I can't find it. I don't know where it is. There's modern versions. Oh, yeah. I swear to fulfill the best of my ability and judgment this covenant. I will respect the hardworking scientific gains of those physicians in whose steps I walk, Gladly share such knowledge as mine who are the fellow. I will apply for the benefit of the sick all measures that are required, avoiding those twin traps of overtreatment and therapeutic nihilism.
Therapeutic nihilism. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it goes on forever.
Okay, let's not read it the whole
I'll
thing.
respect the privacy of my patients and all that BS. Back to my info.
Yep.
Did you know that the reason you find so many 1964 nickels is because people thought that that was the last year they would contain silver, so people hoarded them.
This is funny.
And so then the mints had to make more coins to make up for the shortage. But in reality, they were all just made of nickel.
And if I had already known that there was an unusually high amount of 1964 nickels,
Yeah, you would have cut me off.
I would be probably the biggest nerd there ever was.
Nerd
That was something
alert.
that I had already observed. Oh, it seems like there's a lot of 1964 nickels out there.
So, what you're saying is, if one of our listeners was aware of the fact that there's more
By
1964
observation.
Yeah.
Not by somebody telling you.
Correct. You're saying if they're aware
Their
of that,
biggest nerd ever.
and they're not welcome to listen to our podcast.
I didn't say the
is what
second
you're
part of
saying.
that. You did.
You are alienated and you hate birth. If they like birthdays, they're also not allowed, according to you.
Yeah, it's true. That one is
I
true.
welcome birthday fans.
All right. What's next?
The Sharpie marker was introduced in 1964.
And Donald Trump's never been the same.
Yeah, Donald Trump, zing,
Yeah.
boom, make it relevant. The extra fine point didn't come out till 1979, though.
Which sucks.
And the ultra fine point was in
And
1989.
ultra fine point is just the worst idea.
Yeah, we hate anyone who uses the ultra fine point Sharpies.
I don't know why somebody would want to use a fine point, that fine of a point.
You know, why
Although,
do
do you think
judge?
your mom writes like that, real light?
Oh,
No, I'm thinking of
there's a rift between my wife and my mom. Women all hate their mothers-in-law. They all hate them.
Stop it. That's not
We
true.
got a
I
rift.
love her.
Lynn Zamaris, when you listen to this episode in 10 years,
Yep.
here's
She's
what Amy
finally,
was
she's
saying.
still in the 90s.
I think she's in the 80s. How about this? The top 5 shows on TV in 1964 were Bonanza on NBC,
Western.
Bewitched on ABC,
Which show?
Magic, Gomer Pyle, USMC on CBS,
Military.
Andy Griffith Show on CBS,
Nostalgic.
and The Fugitive on ABC.
What would that be? Action. Must be. So they're all different kind of genres.
Yeah,
That's
not a lot
that's
of Western. The Western kind of era is gone, I guess. Well, Bonanza.
Bonanza's still there, but
Also, fashion designers Andre Courageous and Mary Quant introduced the miniskirt,
the miniskirt.
therefore scandalizing conservatives and signaling the rapidly changing mores of the decade.
So they went from
Morals of the decade is probably what that should have said.
yes,
The rapidly changing morals of the decade. Yeah, so miniskirts were around.
raising up the hem.
And it was making people upset.
Yes,
people
they
didn't
do.
like it. You're going to go to hell.
They do get
the
mad.
Beatles released 7 platinum records in 1964
That's amazing.
alone.
That's
1 year,
amazing.
7 platinum records.
That is insane.
Introducing the Beatles, Meet the Beatles' second album, A Hard Day's Night, Something New, Beatles for Sale, and Beatles 65, each sold over 1 million copies.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
It's a pretty good run.
And there's some commercial phrases, jingles.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say the jingle, you guess the product.
Okay.
Let your fingers do the walking.
Yellow Pages.
Exactly right. Exactly right. There's no more yellow pages. What? Did you just remember something?
No, I thought that was another one. Exactly right.
No, you were right about
Oh, I
Yellow
thought you were
Pages.
giving me the next one. It's called Exactly
I should
Right.
just make
Exactly
up-
right.
I should just make up things.
And
go,
I will just guess, and it'll probably be a marketing genius idea for whatever that product is.
armpit chickens. Woohoo! Woohoo! Armpit chickens.
That would
Grandma, rub my ankles.
be... Is it the same one?
Yeah.
Those are both in the same commercial?
Yeah. Yep.
That is for Ben Gay.
Yep.
I knew it.
Okay, that's not real. Please don't squeeze the Charmin.
Well, duh. That's Charmin.
Dick Wilson as Mr. George Whipple.
Is that 64 is when that came out?
Yep. How about Come Alive? You're in the Pepsi generation.
Well, that's not hard to guess, honey. You say the thing in the
Okay,
middle.
how about
of
this? Here's one. Does she or doesn't she?
Oh, Miss Clairol.
Yes, Clairol.
Is the carpet match the curtains?
Miss Clairol.
You know what Miss Clairol says? Have a double batch and get a snatch to match.
I was hoping you'd say that. That sounds like the 60s ad.
Yep,
Is that where
it
you heard
was.
that?
Yeah, that's where I heard
Now, last time
That
we
was Hugh Devine, by the
Last
way.
time we recorded this episode, I played the commercials.
it. Yeah.
But I don't...
And they didn't bring
they weren't
add
that
anything
great.
to it.
Yeah, they weren't that great. But you can find some of these on YouTube, as you can find almost anything on YouTube.
Yep.
January 4th, 1964, we have a new number one song on the Billboard chart, knocking off that Nun. There was like a Nun song, Nonsense or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
By Bobby Vinton. Are you familiar with Bobby Vinton?
Yeah.
This song is called... Can you get it to play?
I can't get it to play.
No. There, I've said it again. It's a popular song written by Red Evans and David Mann and popularized originally by Vaughn Monroe in 1945. And then again in late 1963 and early 64 by Bobby Vinton. Vinton's version was the final number one song on the Hot 100 prior to the Beatles.
Because my grandma loved this kind of music.
She would. This is for grandmothers.
Yeah, it is.
This is grandma music. This was the number one for 4 weeks.
I didn't never heard this one.
And I would be glad if I never heard it again.
Oh, there's something to be said for that kind of nostalgic sounding.
Yeah, you know what that something to be said is? Garbage.
No, that's not.
Ass. That's something to be said.
All right.
Ass.
Okay.
I'd rather smell a fat guy's ass.
No, you would not.
Yeah.
No, you would not.
I would. I'd rather... the only thing I smell from now on is a fat guy's ass. Like that's whatever he thinks smells like. Then never hear that song again.
No.
No offense.
There's no way.
No offense to Bobby Vinton, who's our guest next week on the
Yeah,
American
right.
Timelines. Anyway, that's it for January. And that was on January 4th, 1964. And I understand you have something on January
4th,
that
I do.
day,
The
don't
same
ya?
day.
Something happened on that date?
Yes. All right. So in a short period between June 1962 and January 1964,
Yeah.
there was a series of grisly murders that took place in Boston.
Grizzly?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. Murders in Boston?
All the victims were
Boston?
women, elderly women.
Elderly women? Now, all of them were?
Yes. No, not all of them. Most of them.
Oh.
And
That's the
they
pattern.
all had been strangled. So the Boston slayings were blamed on one lone sociopath. And to this day, there is still mystery that surrounds the case.
And what do they call him?
He'd call him the Boston Strangler.
This is the case of the Boston Strangler. Didn't we already talk about? I feel
No.
like this has already been.
He didn't happen
We've already
yet.
talked about the Night Stalker. We've
It had
talked
already
about
happened.
John Wayne Gacy.
Hillside Stranglers.
The
You're thinking of the
Hillside-
Hillside Stranglers.
Oh, Hillside Strangler, Boston Strangler. There's
What?
a Hillside Strangler
Mm-hmm, that's
and
a
a
different
Boston
one.
Strangler.
Yes.
Is there any other stranglers?
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I just
Name 4 more
Can't think of
stranglers.
can't think of any more stranglers
Oh,
off the
guess
top.
somebody's not a true
But
crime fan.
I do know that there probably are more stranglers.
All right.
All right? Just like there's lots of slashers, there's lots of rippers.
Rippers. Jack the Ripper is the only Ripper.
No, they have like the Yorkshire Ripper, the Ypsilanti Ripper.
There's more than one Ripper. There's a
Yeah.
Ypsilanti Ripper.
There's the Ypsilanti Ripper.
You ever been to Ypsilanti?
I feel like we drove through it.
I've been to Ypsilanti.
I think we drove
I
through
got a
it.
tattoo
Of
dagger.
Ypsilanti?
I spent a night with a lady with a tattoo of a dagger on her body in Ypsilanti once.
I don't want to know. All right, so
Yeah?
these were mostly elderly women, mostly.
Those are my favorite kind of
And
women.
so the first victim was Anna Slessers, and she was a seamstress. And
a
she,
seamstress?
very devout churchgoer.
Oh,
She
man.
was murdered on the evening of June 14th,
Oh,
1962.
that poor lady. I don't, when I think of seamstress, I don't think of murder. But on June 14th, 1962, that's the same day Ally Sheedy was born from Short Circuit.
Yes.
The greatest movie of all time. Also, on the Donna Reed show, after attending a friend's wedding, Mary seems anxious to get married herself. And then Alex jokes he'd rather see Mary elope and save him the cost of a wedding.
All right. So this woman lived on her own.
Yeah.
And in Boston.
She lived alone? Oh,
And
she
her
didn't. She's a booming granny.
So her
With her booming
son,
fanny, living all by
Juris,
herself.
was supposed to come pick her up.
Wait a second. I
What?
can't just let that sit. Her son, what?
Juris. Juris.
Juris?
Yes.
Juris.
Yes.
Juris priest.
He was supposed to come by and pick her up for a memorial service.
Okay.
But,
Because she's old and all of her friends are dying.
right. So he kind of sees a little bit of her. He goes in the house.
Yeah.
And he sees in the bathroom, she's on the floor.
Yeah.
And he runs out.
He sees that she's dead?
Yeah, he sees that
Or he
she's dead
thinks
and
she's
she's got
sleeping.
something around her neck.
Oh, no.
And he runs out, and he assumes that she died of a suicide.
But he didn't want to see it. He was
Yeah,
shocked.
yes.
Poor Juris.
But then when the homicide detectives got there, they found her in an obscene state. She was nude and stripped of dignity.
So we don't think Juris did that.
No, she had been sexually assaulted.
Are you sure Juris isn't the strangler? We don't know.
Well, he was, I guess, pretty shaken up.
All right.
So the apartment looked like it had been ransacked.
Okay.
And her purse and all this stuff from her purse was strewn everywhere.
So her hard candies were gone?
Her hard candies were all over the floor.
Oh, they're all over the floor. But
Yeah.
they weren't taken.
Nobody took the hard candies. A
Not
gold
even
watch.
the Werther's originals?
A gold watch and some jewelry was also left behind.
Now, was that a gold watch that had spent time up somebody's butt, you think?
I don't think so. I think it was this old lady's. And
You
so,
don't think she's ever...
stop it. She's a victim.
Oh, we
All
can't
right.
make fun of the victims?
No, that's not.
Can
cool.
we make fun of Juris?
I don't. He's a victim too.
Well, he didn't die.
All right. Anyway,
What can I
they
make
thought
fun
it was a
of?
botched burglary.
Okay.
So just 3 weeks later, on June 28th, 1962.
Oh, funny that you mentioned June 28th, 1962, because that was National Handshake Day.
Oh,
So
That's
whatever,
awesome.
So this, whatever you are about to tell me, probably involves a handshake.
no, it does not.
No.
Nope.
On National Handshake Day, other things happened?
85-year-old Mary Mullen was murdered in her home.
Oh, poor Mary Mullen.
And then 2 days later, the body of 68-year-old Nora Nichols was also discovered in her home in Boston.
On June 30th, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, that's National Toilet Crying Day, where people cry in their toilets.
All right.
I didn't make that up. That's real.
It appeared, this also appeared to be a burglary, but there was like silver that was still left behind, and so it's like,
so it's not. It's a staged.
yes,
It's a stage burglary. It's not a real. It's somebody wants you to think it's a burglary,
right.
But instead, it's just a murder.
And Nichols was also found naked. Her legs were open, and her stocking tops were tied in a bow around
this
her
is
neck.
gross. You should have. I'm disappointed in you. I would think you'd have a harder time discussing things like this.
I have a hard time with
You're
it.
calloused.
No, I'm not.
You're a calloused detective that's been through hell.
Then on the same day, a
Yeah.
second body is discovered a
Oh,
few miles
no.
north of Boston.
The same day, toilet crying day?
Yeah.
Man, maybe
Helen
they should-
Blake was a 65-year-old divorcee, and her murder was more gruesome because she had lacerations in her private areas.
Now that's new. The other
Yeah.
ones didn't have that. They should change it from toilet crying day to dead body
Finding day.
Yeah.
And the bow, she also had the bow around her neck.
a bow around her neck with
It was a bra this
her
time.
bra. Well,
They used a
okay,
bra.
so this is the first time a bra has been used.
Yes.
So it's something different.
Something new. And this,
something borrowed.
like the
something
previous
blue.
crimes, it appeared to be a burglary.
Yeah.
So it was clear
Oh,
that
this one did too? It
Boston
looked like a
was,
burglary?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was clear that Boston had this psychotic killer on the loose.
I think they pronounce it Boston.
So
Boston.
police commissioner canceled all police leave, and a warning went out to all the females
Yeah,
in
you
Boston.
police cannot take a break, and you women should not be answering the door.
And so they knew they were looking for the psychopath. And before long, a fourth brutal slaying takes place on August 19th.
A fourth one
Yes,
on August 19th, 1960.
4. You missed it, I think. Or, I mean, 3. I think you said you missed it last night.
Well, you skipped December 5th, 1962.
I haven't gotten to that yet.
Oh.
That's what I mean, August 19th, 1961. Or 1962.
Oh, yeah, I don't have an August.
All right.
Oh, but I looked it up, and that's the same day John Stamos was born, wasn't it?
No, that was something different, I think.
No. John
Oh.
Stamos was born in
Oh,
August.
okay. I don't.
The birth of John Stamos.
All
who,
right.
Not many people know this. was the drummer for the Beach Boys for the song Kokomo, which is highly regarded on this podcast.
No, it is not regarded on this podcast as the greatest song
in American history.
That is not a fact.
Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh,
Stop
I want
it. That wasn't 1964.
Yeah,
anyways.
but John Stamos was in it.
We already
and he was
covered
born
that,
on this
I think.
day. But here's another thing, a theory. Listen to this. Both Ali Sheedy and John Stamos were born on days the Boston Strangler murdered someone. So there's a distinct possibility that they are both reincarnated victims
of the
Boston Strangler, if you think that's how reincarnation works.
Right.
Boom.
So,
boom. Laying that. Think about that. Let that wash over you.
So this victim was 75-year-old Ida Urga.
Ida Urga? So you're saying right now that Ida Urga is John Stamos?
I'm not saying that.
Oh.
She had also been strangled. She lay on her back on the floor wearing a brown nightdress, which was ripped and exposed her body.
Now, a nightdress, is that a nightgown? Same
yes.
thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she had, there was also no sign of forced entry. In again, and that's consistent throughout all of them.
That's not something we mentioned though. But so we think these ladies are letting this person
yes.
in, so it's somebody they might know.
Yes,
you think
maybe that's what they're thinking. So then, less than 24 hours later, the body of Jane Sullivan was found.
Less than 24 hours after John Stamos was born,
and the 65-year-old nurse had been murdered a week before, but she was just now found and dead in the bathroom.
So she died when somebody else was born.
And she had been strangled with their own nylons. So terror spread throughout Boston.
Boy, so just think about this, though. John Stamos' parents are in the hospital all excited about having a baby named John Stamos. And they're reading in the paper that all these murders.
Right.
That's
all right.
sad.
It was 3 months before the strangler struck again. This time the victim was young, though.
Uh-oh.
So 21-year-old Sophie Clark was an African-American student. She was very mindful of her safety. She rarely dated.
Now, this is the first minority that's murdered,
That's
right?
true, too.
And a young person.
Yeah,
so
that's true, too.
There was probably maybe some doubt at the beginning that it was the same guy?
I think there still is doubt that this is the same guy. But her body was found on December...
You still, to this day, there's doubt?
I think so.
Oh.
That's a few of, like, the young ones.
Could be a
copycat.
Right. Could be a copycat killer.
You're getting good.
Man, I'm learning my lingo.
So her body was found on December 5th, 1962.
Oh, that is the day that on ABC there was a show called Our Man Higgins, which a lot of people have guessed or professed that this is possibly where the idea for Mr. Belvedere came from. Alice and Duncan McRoberts are looking forward to an unexpected inheritance from Scotland, but then are surprised when it's a servant. Higgins is a prim butler who lends a hand with the three adventurous children, while the youngsters help Higgins become a bit more relaxed.
All right.
A lot like Mr. Belvedere, starring Bob Uecker, and a lot of people don't know this, Marilyn Manson played one of the sons on that show.
Okay.
That's a rumor. I don't know if that's true.
That's probably not true. All right, you're probably just spreading lies. Okay.
Spreading lies? Manufactured by your competitors?
So her body was found nude and had been sexually assaulted, and she had been strangled by her own stockings.
Well, at least it's her own stocking, because here's the look on the bright side. What if you're murdered with some gross guy's stockings? At least they're your own.
All right. Semen was also discovered for the first time.
Gross! Ah, gross!
So the police were still sure this was the work of the same killer, I guess because of how she was found.
I wish we could just not talk about semen on one episode.
I know. Then they also had a lead. A female neighbor told the police that a man had knocked on her door, insisting that he had been sent to paint her apartment.
Right.
And he finally left after she said her husband was sleeping in the next room.
Oh,
so she gave them a description.
How close was that to the murder scene? It was real close?
It was a neighbor, yeah.
In that building?
In the same building.
The same building.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily... she was an old lady? So maybe he was trying to kill that lady.
Oh,
and then she didn't answer, so he was forced to choose another victim.
Oh, he's all wound up, so he had to do something.
Yeah, he got all excited. He got a murder boner, so he had to fulfill it.
Oh, my God, you're good.
Oh!
Murder Boner should be the name of a band.
Murder Boner. I bet it is already.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. Okay, so...
And we're going to go see them. We're going to follow them on tour wherever they go. Even if they're just in some small town like Uncle Ankle and just play occasionally at a bar, we'll just follow them.
3 weeks later, there was another murder. 23-year-old Patricia Bissett was pregnant when she was found dead in her apartment.
I wonder if she's related to Jacoby Brissett.
And this was also near the vicinity where Anna Slessors and Sophie Clark had lived.
So near the same place.
She was discovered by her boss.
Wait, what day was this?
it was 3 weeks later.
Oh.
When she didn't turn up for work. Her body lay in her bed covered by sheets, but she had been sexually assaulted and strangled with her own stockings.
You know, that was a simpler time when your boss would come to your house if you didn't show up to work.
I know.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Nope.
Probably was going to offer her a ride.
So they interview every sex offender in Boston.
Really?
Yeah,
All of them?
trying to find and still couldn't figure out anything.
I don't buy that.
So then the next victim,
yeah?
in March of 1963, the body of 68-year-old Mary Brown was found strangled and raped. 2 months later,
All this rape is making
Beverly
me
Salmon's
uneasy.
23-year-old graduate had missed choir practice
Another young person.
on May 8th, 1963.
Oh, on the same day Dick Van Dyke was on? In this episode, Rob submits a sketch about a talking bowling pin, which Alan Brady loves, but trouble arises when it's revealed that a rival comedian has already used that same material.
Oh,
Can't
wow.
copy the jokes.
Nope.
Already been done. But
So
wait,
she was
so it
found-
was another young woman.
Yes.
So maybe he accidentally stumbled into the young one, and he was like, wow, young women are just as murderable as old ladies.
He probably did. So she was found with her hands tied behind her back with one of her scarves. A nylon stocking and 2 handkerchiefs were tied around her neck. And then a piece
See,
of
and that's the
cloth
thing.
was over her
It's
mouth.
the other thing you could, if I was an old lady or a young lady living at that time, I would be like, you know what, I'm getting rid of all my stockings.
Yeah, really.
And ribbons.
Bare ball in
and
it.
all that. Just
Go
no.
commando.
Well, those aren't your balls. Those aren't balls they go on, do they? They go on your feet.
Oh, well,
Right?
stockings.
Oh, they cover the big long
Yeah.
stockings cover your
Yeah.
crotch. But I
maybe
guess
they
you
just
had to wear them. Then.
garter.
You weren't allowed to not wear them.
Mhm,
Probably.
you weren't. Nope.
Oh, okay.
But that's a good point that you're making.
I would get rid of all of my
All your stockings and bras.
all my chokeable items.
Yeah, no kidding. Because he's not coming prepared for any of
No,
this
he
shit.
uses their stuff.
Yeah. So, she had got stabbed in the neck though, and they said that that's what killed her. But they think that since she was a singer, her vocal cords were so strong that he couldn't strangle her.
Singers are known for having super strong vocal cords and to be unstrangleable.
Right.
Many people have tried to strangle rock legend Michael McDonald,
No,
and they can't
because he's.
because of his vocal cords.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't know me, but
All right.
me.
Okay, we're done with that.
You ever go to a Michael McDonald holiday concert?
No, we're done with this.
I have.
I know you
Burn.
have. Everybody knows.
Boom.
Okay,
Everybody.
everybody, you talk about it a lot.
The Michael
So,
McDonald holiday concert?
You do.
That's the name of my fantasy football team.
So,
Michael McDonald.
they
holiday
thought
concert.
they went to a clairvoyant to see
All right.
if they could get any information, and the guy said that this was a
Right.
patient, a mental patient who had escaped from Boston State
The
Hospital.
clairvoyant said this.
Yes.
So this,
But this,
do you put much stock into that?
they discounted it very quickly when another murder was committed on September 8th, 1963.
Well, that was Easy E's birthday, by the way. But why would they discount that?
Because
Just because
nobody had been reported missing.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
yeah.
I thought you were saying the murder on September on Easy E's birthday from NWA.
Right.
He's a great rapper.
All right. So this was Evelyn Corbin, and she was 58-year-old divorcee. She was found nude on her bed, face up. Her underwear had been stuffed in her mouth, and they
Gross.
also had semen they had found as well. Then
Semen is so gross.
on November 25th, Joanne Graff, 23-year-old industrial designer, was
Joanne
raped and
Graff.
killed in her
Oh,
apartment.
I was going to say, she was going to be the one to stop everything.
Several descriptions of her attacker matched those of the man
Wait,
who
did you
asked
say
to paint.
November 25th?
Yes.
She was killed the same day that JFK was laid to rest, and Bernie Kosar was born. Another reincarnated Boston Strangler victim.
So
Bernie Kosar.
the description of the guy that killed her
Quarterback Browns.
matched the description of the guy who asked to paint Sophie Clark's
It did, huh?
neighbor's
So now
apartment.
we have a lead, we have a description, we have a match.
Yes.
I bet he had green pants.
He did, and they called him the Green Man.
The Greenman.
So then on January 4th, 1964,
Oh, that's where we're at in the timeline.
Yes.
That's what we've been talking about this episode. We're talking about 1964. That's the same day the Joey Bishop show was on. Remember the Joey Bishop show?
No,
Joey
I
Bishop
never
was
saw
from
that.
the Rat Pack.
I know who he is, but I've never seen that show.
Anyway, I have a description of that episode, but
Yeah,
it
it's
sucks.
boring
It's
and
boring, and nobody cares.
Okay,
Joey Bishop
so-
was the least popular Rat Pack guy.
Yep, that's true. So these two women discovered their roommate, Mary Sullivan,
Yeah.
On this day, she was found dead sitting on her bed, her back against the headboard.
Poor lady.
She had been strangled with a dark stocking and sexually assaulted with a broom handle.
Oh, what? That's appalling.
And then-
how are you saying this so calmly?
There was also a Happy
wrong with
New Year
you?
card lay wedged between her feet.
Oh, well, that's a little nice. That
No.
makes it less.
No, it doesn't
It's a
make it
Happy
less.
New Year card.
No, it doesn't less. It's not.
No, it's a nice greeting.
So the
It's
city
something.
is totally panic stricken, and the Attorney
But
General.
there's a Happy New Year card. That should make it all better.
No, the Attorney General
See you ever, Coop?
on January 17th, 1964.
Oh, the same day Michelle Obama was born, y'all.
He headed up a task force, and he had permanent staff assigned to the Boston Strangler case. And they came up with what they thought was the most likely description of the killer. They thought he was around 30,
Yeah.
neat and orderly, worked with his hands, most likely a loner.
Sounds like a murderer to me.
Then they end up finding the killer by chance.
By chance?
Yes.
Now, they didn't, like, just guard all old ladies? Like, just guard every old lady.
That's what you should do.
apartment. Yeah.
So, in fact, no one has ever been actually tried for the Boston Strangling murders.
They never caught him?
But
Oh.
Albert
Yeah.
DeSalvo is believed to be who did it.
Everybody thinks Albert DeSalvo did it.
Yes,
Where
he
is
actually
now?
confessed to each of the 13 official Strangler murders.
He did?
He did.
So why is there...
But there's some doubt on his claims by
Why?
people who knew him personally, because he was a bragger and he was a kind of obnoxious person, and so people think he made it up.
Yeah, but if you're an obnoxious person, you're probably a murderer.
Could
Maybe.
be.
Maybe
Well,
not.
I don't. We know some obnoxious. Anyway,
Yeah. Me, I'm obnoxious. I guess
it's
I'm not a
true.
murderer.
So he was a 29-year-old guy. He had a history of breaking and entering.
B&E.
Little Banny.
Little B&E.
He spent time in prison for a bizarre
B&E.
series of peeping Tom escapades where he would knock on ladies' doors, pretend he was a model scout, and say, if you let me take your measurements, then I'll take them back to the modeling agency. And he would give her, like, money. And
And the ladies fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
And he was
'cause
called
that's
the
every
measuring
young
man at
lady-
that
the
time.
Measuring, yeah, that sounds like it. I could see him starting out with little weird, creepy shit like that,
Yep.
and then moving into the murders later.
and he
on.
had actually spent 18 months in prison for that,
Wow.
for doing that. Then he had
So
a tough
gross.
upbringing.
Wait, you say he just went in their house and measured them, and then he left, or he'd do weird things to them?
I think he'd just
He
measure them
assaulted
and leave. That was the beginning of his deviancy.
But then why did he go to jail for it?
Because they would be undressed.
And then he just
He's going in there to be a pervert. He's lying to them to get, that's illegal.
But he's not touching them or doing anything?
Well, he's measuring them. You have to touch them to measure them.
Yeah, but I mean, how do they, like, when he it was
When
probably,
they find out it's not a real modeling agency.
I wonder how long that takes. He's probably like, okay, I'll see you later. We'll call you.
Well,
Don't
I'm
call
sure,
us.
but if they looked up the agency and realized it didn't exist,
Well,
then
how they
they
find him
call
then?
the police. So anyway,
Anyway, he was caught then.
he was
sloppy.
caught he spent 18 months in prison for that. Okay, so he had a tough upbringing. He had 4 siblings. His father was a wife-beating alcoholic.
Oh, that's not an attractive.
He became a delinquent.
Quality.
He had spent time in and out of prison for petty crime and violence.
You know what? It all goes back to the fathers.
Yes, it does.
Father, just treat your children right.
So he had been discharged from the army for disobeying orders.
Yeah, you gotta obey orders in the army. That's kind of one of the big things.
Yes. Then he
They don't
married
like you disobey.
his sweetheart Irmgard Beck, who was a
Irmgard Beck, y'all.
girl from Germany.
Oh, a German lady.
And they had a child that had disabilities.
Oh,
And then they had another child that was a healthy boy. So they had 2
Oh.
boys.
2 boys.
But he was liked and appreciated by his boss and his colleagues, but they also said that he was this outrageous braggart.
So how can you like and respect somebody who's an outrageous
I know.
braggart?
I don't
get
know.
That seems contradictory. I'm upset.
So he had a spell in prison for breaking and entering.
Yeah.
Then he
maybe.
came out and he broke into a woman's apartment, tied her up to the bed, and held a knife to her throat, molested her, and then ran away.
Gross. And all this time his German wife is cool with it?
No, she doesn't know about it.
Oh.
So then he was arrested for that.
She had to know about the jail time, though, right?
Yeah, I assume. He was arrested for that, and then he was picked out of an identity parade, and then he was admitted to robbing hundreds of apartments and
All right.
carrying out a couple of rapes.
Pardon my ignorance, but is an identity parade a full-long parade with floats?
It's got floats
and
and
they throw
stuff.
candy and stuff,
Yes.
and then you just pick out your murderer?
I think
Okay.
that most parades operate that way.
Gotcha. Yeah, most of them do have marching bands.
And so then he confesses, he says, I'm the Boston Strangler.
Oh, he confessed. But back to this identity parade. Do you think like the victims or the suspects all have to learn to play an instrument, and then they have to be good enough to be in a marching band and
Could be.
trained
Could be, babe.
before they can be in the parade?
Could be, babe. All right, so the police didn't believe him at first.
They didn't believe he's the Boston Strangler, even though everything he's done so far is creepy as hell, just the same way.
Yep. And he went
I
to.
think he
They
is.
sent him to a mental hospital to be assessed by psychiatrists, and he got F. Lee Bailey as his defense attorney.
So right here, that's what the clairvoyant was seeing. Instead of escaping from one, he'll be put in one in the future.
Maybe,
It
babe.
just got mixed up. It's all real. Clairvoyants are all real.
And when they told
Listen to
his
all of
wife, she was like, "There's no way that he's just saying that to get in the newspapers and to get money." That's not
She
true.
didn't even believe the German
She
wife didn't believe it?
Yeah, she didn't believe it.
She wouldn't look up for her
She
from
said
her wiener
he's-
schnitzel for
that's
5
just like
seconds.
what he's like.
She's just a horrible asshole. I married a terrible person.
Yep.
And meanwhile, F. Lee Bailey's involved.
Yeah, so Bailey interviews him, and he hears DeSalvo describe the murders in incredible detail, down to the furniture the apartments had, the
so
victims
he
had.
did do it.
And
I just so happen to have an F. Lee Bailey impression.
you do.
Yeah, would you like to hear it?
Sure, babe.
Hello, I'm F. Lee Bailey.
That was pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yep. So
Boom.
Bailey
Nailed
became
it.
convinced that DeSalvo was the Boston Strangler, and when he asked DeSalvo why he chose a victim so old,
Yeah.
DeSalvo says attractiveness had nothing to do with it.
Ugh,
So
that's creepy.
I think it was just any and all.
Although whatever he would say is creepy because
That's
he's
true.
raping people.
So
but have you noticed that a lot of people consider me like better than Rich Little in my impressions?
there's nobody saying that.
A lot of people say it.
No.
People
All right.
say it.
So the police are convinced.
The 5-0 is convinced?
He was incarcerated, and then in November 1973, he went and he got word to his doctor that he needed to see him right away, and he had something important to say about the Boston Strangler.
But while
murders.
he's in jail.
While he's in jail.
So he was tried and convicted for it. Or is he just...
Yes, he was tried and convicted.
You said nobody's been tried and convicted for this.
No, it was for the. I'm sorry, it wasn't for
I
the Boston
accept your
stranglings. It was for the rapes.
Oh, the other things. He
Yeah.
didn't- Well, the people that got away.
Yes,
He was probably going to kill them too, though.
right. It probably was. So he gets word to the doctor that he's got something really important to say.
Yeah?
And the night before they were to meet, he
Yeah?
was stabbed to death in prison.
Oh, what day was that?
I don't know.
Gross.
So it's assumed that the killing had been planned with
Wait a minute.
cooperation between
Wait, he was
employees and
stabbed
prisoners.
to death in prison?
Yeah.
So he couldn't confess whatever he's going to say about the strangling?
Yeah. But they think the employees and the prisoners were in cahoots a little bit.
Yeah, like the guards were like, hey, we'll turn our back
Yeah,
on him.
right.
Kill that braggart.
That's right. In 2001, they exhumed his body,
They
and
did?
DNA tests were taken
Right.
and compared to evidence from Mary Sullivan's murder.
Oh,
and
because now we have this DNA stuff. We're going to prove it was
that's
him, right? And what
there
happened?
was no match.
What?
Then in July of 2013, his body would be exhumed again for reevaluation using new forensic testing.
Yeah.
And this time on July 11th, 2013, officials announced that the DNA evidence had linked him to the rape and murder of Mary Sullivan.
That's the same night that Redneck Island was on CMT and Pregnant and Dating was on the Wii Network.
And of course, if you think of those two shows,
Yeah?
Redneck Island and Pregnant and Dating,
Yep. That's how far we've come. That's in
compared
2013.
to
the
the two,
60s.
like if I were to
My
think
boy
that,
Higgins.
yeah, from
Or
whatever
the
those shows
Donna
were
Reed
to
show.
this,
We were
cesspool
watching
of
Donna
bunch of shows.
Reed and Leave It to Beaver, and now we're watching Redneck Island and Pregnant and Dating.
Oh my God!
It really is the idiocracy.
And that is the story of the Boston Strangler.
That was pretty good. So we now know it was him. Those last tests.
Yeah,
were-
well,
were
at least that
mistake.
he did marry Sullivan. So
Well, you know, a good friend and listener, Joe Christian,
yeah,
loves Idiocracy. That's his favorite movie.
what are you talking about?
Yeah, I
Right
said
now.
we're in the Idiocracy because of those two
Oh.
movies. That made me think of that. And Joe Christian is a big fan and listener, and he watches Idiocracy over and
Oh,
over.
I don't think that's true.
No, he does. That's all he watches.
Okay, what's next?
Well, that's a great story, and let's just finish up January.
Yeah.
Since that was long.
Yep.
So long. And so Friday, January 10th, 1964 was the first Beatles album released in the United States.
Okay.
Originally, it was supposed to come out in July of 63, but it came out January 10th of 64 on VJ Records. And this
I
came
remember
out
them.
10 days before Capitol's Meet the Beatles came out. And that one was supposed to be the first one.
Right.
But VJ, there's haggling back and forth between, and there was like legal battles about which one could come out first and whatever. But ultimately, VJ was permitted to sell the album until late 1964,
All right.
by which time it had sold more than 1.3 million copies. On July 24th, 2014, the album was certified gold and platinum. Anyway, here are the songs that are on this album. Side 1, I Saw Her Standing There, Misery, Anna, Go to Him, Chains, Carole King wrote that, helped write that, Boys, Love Me Do, you know that song, right? Paul and John wrote that one. P.S. I Love You,
That's a good one.
Baby It's You, Burt Bacharach helped write that. Do You Want to Know a Secret? You like that one, right?
Yeah, I like that one.
That's written by George Harrison. A Taste of Honey, There's a Place, and Twist and Shout.
Pretty good.
Those are all pretty good for the first album ever,
Yeah.
all those hits.
All those hits.
And then on Monday, January 20th, 1964, Meet the Beatles was released, the second album. And this one had I Want to Hold Your Hand, I Saw Her Standing There, This Boy, It Won't Be Long, All I've Got to Do, All My Lovin'. And then on side 2, Don't Bother Me, Little Child, Don't Bother Me. There's a guy I used to know in a group home that said, Don't bother me, sweeper.
All right. Keep going.
Anyway, Till There Was You, Hold Me Tight, I Want to Be Your Man, and Not a Second Time.
Those are pretty good, too.
Yeah. Pretty good for his first 2 albums.
Yeah.
Greatest band ever.
I'd agree.
And then on Wednesday, January 29th, 1964, I think this is going to be the last thing, that we talk about it. Let's finish up January. A movie came out about an insane general who triggers a path to nuclear holocaust that a war room full of politicians and generals frantically try to stop.
Dr. Strangelove.
Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it'd be creepy to watch it now in this day and age.
Yeah, you think?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
it's kinda
It would be a
scary.
parallel.
Like, we all think it's going to happen.
It would be
yeah.
such a parallel.
Directed by Stanley Kubrick, starring Peter Sellers, George C. Scott, Sterling Hayden, and this is the debut of James Earl Jones.
That's right.
The film debut.
Yep.
This was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor in a Leading Role, by Peter Sellers, Best Director, Best Writing Screenplay based on material from another medium. And the film led to actual changes in policy to ensure that these events depicted could never really happen in real life. Did you know that?
That's cool.
That's good.
I wonder what the changes were.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart. While shooting aerial footage over Greenland, the second unit camera crew accidentally filmed a secret U.S. military base, and their plane was forced down, and the crew was suspected of being Soviet spies.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, they
That was
searched
just-
everyone's anuses.
They might have. You don't know.
They probably did.
You probably did.
And then that began the policy from
The
then
National
on.
Anus Searches.
Yeah, all film crews have their anuses searched.
I don't think that's
yeah,
true
it's
at all.
true everywhere. You can't be an extra without having your anus searched.
You're making things up again.
Dr. Strangelove apparently suffers from agonistic apraxia, also known as alien hand syndrome.
Yes.
Somebody diagnosed that. It's caused by damage to the corpus callosum,
Colossum, I think.
callosum, the nerve fibers that connect the brain's 2 hemispheres. Researchers at the University of Aberdeen who identified it, Strangelove syndrome.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's just interesting.
Awesome that he had that, but it's like
I mean,
a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah, so it's a real thing, and I remember it being a good movie. I mean, good is debatable when you're talking about a historical movie. Sometimes like they're meaningful and they're important, but it might not be entertaining.
Right.
I watched it in film class, I think.
I did too.
I
I feel like I liked it.
I was probably stoned out of my gourd.
Yeah, you probably were.
Wasn't the best student around. Mm-hmm. Not a good student.
Nope.
You made a mistake in marrying me.
Well, that is it for today.
Oh, God. Oh.
Oh, just ruined the podcast.
That is. My microphone stand fell. Gosh, this is the worst. It was a
Gosh.
ghost.
That was not a
probably.
ghost. That was you being an idiot.
Hey, I am an idiot, but thank you for listening
Thank
to
you for
Two
listening.
Idiots.
Yes.
History for Idiots.
Please
and jerks.
tell your friends and
Yeah, bug your friends. You
get
need,
people to listen.
you know what I mean? Really, here's the thing. We don't have a lot of time to do a lot of social media and promotion, so it's on you,
Yeah,
listeners.
if you like it, share it with somebody.
Shove it in your friends' faces.
That's right.
Punch your friends.
It's time to get out of here, Chuck Berry.
Have friendships. Friendship banana boats. Take a bath with your friends. Listen to our podcast. In the bathtub. In the nude. Wash each other's butts. I have nowhere to put my microphone because my stand fell down. I can't end the podcast because of this. Oh no, this podcast will go on forever because my microphone stand broke. I don't know what to do. Hello? Is there anybody there? Hello? I love you all. Who is this? Check, please. Grandma? Grandma, are you here?
When you were all along the watchtower, kiss in the sky. Well, I was barely a glimmer in my young daddy's eye. I said that we're so tired of hearing about the 60s. One more time, I said we're so tired of hearing about the 60s. Well, make me shut my mouth.
American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
America, America.